On November 24, 1971, a quiet man walked into an airport in Portland, Oregon. He bought a one-way ticket for a short flight to Seattle. Nothing about him seemed unusual. He was calm, polite, and dressed like an ordinary businessman. But within a few hours, this man would commit one of the most mysterious crimes in history. A crime that would leave investigators confused for decades. A crime that would make his name famous around the world, because that man called himself Dan Cooper. And on that night, he hijacked an airplane, demanded $200,000, and then vanished into the darkness. No body was ever found. No confirmed identity was ever discovered. And to this day, no one knows what really happened after he jumped from that plane. Did he survive? Did he disappear forever? Or did the truth get lost somewhere in the forests of the Pacific Northwest? Tonight, we diving deep into the mystery of the man who pulled off the most daring hijacking in American history. The man who stepped onto a plane and disappeared without a trace. This is the story of D.B. Cooper. The story begins at Portland International Airport. It was the day before Thanksgiving in 1971. Airports were busy with travelers trying to get home for the holidays. Among the crowd was a middle-aged man in a dark suit and tie. He appeared to be in his mid-40s. He carried a briefcase and wore sunglasses. Nothing about him stood out. He approached the ticket counter and bought a ticket under the name Dan Cooper. The flight he chose was Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305, a short trip from Portland to Seattle. The flight would last less than 1 hour. No one knew it at the time, but that short flight would soon become one of the most famous in aviation history. After boarding the plane, Cooper took a seat near the back. He ordered a drink and quietly waited. Passengers chatted. Flight attendants prepared for takeoff. Everything seemed normal, until the plane reached cruising altitude. That's when Cooper called over a flight attendant. He handed her a note. At first, she thought it was just another passenger flirting, so she placed the note in her purse without reading it. But Cooper leaned closer and calmly said something that made her freeze. "Miss, you'd better read that note. I have a bomb." The flight attendant slowly opened the note. Inside was a message that changed everything. It said he had a bomb in his briefcase, and he was not joking. To prove it, Cooper opened the briefcase slightly. Inside, she could see wires and what appeared to be explosive devices. The situation was now very real. Cooper then gave his demands. He wanted $200,000 in cash. He also demanded for parachutes, and he wanted the money delivered once the plane landed in Seattle. Despite the shocking situation, Cooper remained calm. He wasn't angry. He didn't shout. He simply explained what he wanted. The pilots contacted authorities on the ground. The plane continued flying in circles while the FBI prepared the ransom. Passengers had no idea what was happening. To them, it was just another delayed flight. But inside the cockpit, a high-stakes negotiation had begun. As the plane continued circling above Seattle, authorities on the ground were scrambling. The hijackers' demands were clear: $200,000 in cash, for parachutes, and a fuel truck waiting when the plane landed. At the time, $200,000 was a huge amount of money. But officials made a quick decision. They would cooperate. The FBI began collecting the ransom. Agents carefully recorded the serial numbers of every bill. They hoped this detail might help them track the money later. Meanwhile, the passengers on the plane still had no idea they were part of a hijacking. To them, it was simply an unusually long flight. But inside the cockpit, tension was growing. Finally, after nearly 2 hours in the air, the plane was cleared to land at Seattle-Tacoma Airport. Emergency vehicles lined the runway. FBI agents waited nearby. But the scene remained quiet. They didn't want to provoke the hijacker. When the plane finally touched down, Cooper calmly watched through the window. Ground crews approached slowly. And just as he demanded, the money and parachutes were delivered. Then something unexpected happened. Cooper released the passengers, one by one. They exited the aircraft safely. Only the flight crew remained on board. The hijacker now had what he wanted. But the night was far from over, because Cooper had one more request. He ordered the pilots to take off again. This time, heading south toward Mexico. Before takeoff, Cooper gave the pilots specific instructions. The plane had to fly low, no higher than 10,000 feet. The speed had to remain slow, and the landing gear had to stay partially extended. These were unusual instructions, but Cooper seemed to know exactly what he was doing. Soon the aircraft was back in the air. Darkness had fallen over the Pacific Northwest. Rain and clouds filled the sky. Inside the cabin, Cooper sat quietly. He tied the bag of money around his waist. Then he picked up one of the parachutes. At around p.m., something strange happened. The crew noticed the rear staircase of the plane being lowered. This staircase was located at the back of the aircraft. It could be opened while the plane was still flying, a feature that would soon become very important. The pilots could feel a sudden change in the aircraft's balance. They knew what it meant. Somewhere behind them, the hijacker was preparing to jump. Moments later, the plane jolted. Then everything went quiet again. Cooper had disappeared into the night. As soon as the plane landed hours later in Reno, Nevada, authorities rushed on board. The hijacker was gone. The money was gone. Only a few clues remained. The tie Cooper had removed earlier, a couple of parachutes, and an empty seat where the mysterious man had once sat. The FBI quickly launched one of the largest manhunts in American history. Hundreds of agents searched forests, rivers, and mountains. Helicopters scanned the landscape. Investigators believed Cooper had jumped somewhere in the dense wilderness of Washington state, but the terrain was brutal: thick forests, steep mountains, freezing temperatures. If Cooper survived the jump, escaping that environment would have been incredibly difficult. Days passed, then weeks, but no body was ever found. No parachute, no trace of the money. It was as if the hijacker had vanished completely. For nearly 9 years, the case remained a mystery. Then in 1980, something incredible happened. A young boy was playing along the banks of the Columbia River. While digging in the sand, he discovered something strange: a bundle of old, decaying cash. When authorities examined the bills, they made a shocking discovery. The serial numbers matched the ransom money from the hijacking. It was part of the $200,000 Cooper had taken. But the discovery raised more questions than answers. How did the money end up buried along the river? Did Cooper lose it during the jump, or did someone place it there years later? Even today, investigators cannot fully explain how that money reached the riverbank. Over the years, many theories have emerged about Cooper's fate. Some investigators believe he never survived the jump. The weather was terrible that night: strong winds, heavy rain, freezing temperatures. Jumping into dense forest under those conditions would have been extremely dangerous. But others disagree. They point out that Cooper seemed prepared. He knew about parachutes, he understood aircraft details, and he carefully planned the escape. Some experts believe he may have been a former military paratrooper. If that's true, surviving the jump might have been possible. There's also another possibility. What if Cooper had help waiting on the ground? Someone who knew where he would land. Someone ready to help him disappear forever. To this day, investigators still debate what really happened. For decades, the investigation continued. The Federal Bureau of Investigation examined hundreds of suspects. Some seemed convincing, others were quickly ruled out. But none could be definitively proven to be Cooper. Eventually, after more than 45 years of investigation, the FBI officially closed the case in 2016. But the mystery didn't end there. Historians, journalists, amateur detectives, they all continue searching for answers, because the truth about the man called D.B. Cooper may still be out there, hidden somewhere in the past, waiting to be discovered. More than 50 years have passed since that strange night in 1971. A man boarded a plane, demanded $200,000, jumped into the darkness, and disappeared. No confirmed identity, no body, no final answer, only questions. Did D.B. Cooper survive the jump? Did he escape with the money? Or did the wilderness claim him forever? Let us know what you think. Share your theory in the comments. And if you enjoy mysterious true crime stories like this, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more investigations into history's most fascinating unsolved cases, because sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction.